There's just 1 minute to showtime.
The engines are on.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
When they wrote up the systems and the rule set that we use, did working people get to write a line? What class of men on pen and paper jotted down their clues? With capital the heart of their design. When 90 million want a thing, but some shareholders say no. Which class of people get to have their way? The people read the fine print, say that this thing has got to go, and we'll start writing a new contract here today. Don't you know that hundreds will work and one man keeps the money? They don't think they gotta tell us why. When they say the new social contract, all the bosses will be gobsmacked and everyone will want a sign. Oh, yeah, everyone will want a sign.
Hello, cousins. What a big week in stupid. This has been pretty incredible, actually, how rapidly things are declining in and with the United States. So we're going to unpack that a little bit. We don't really ever get the opportunity to talk about fun stuff, but I think everything happening is happening so much faster than we anticipated. You know, a lot of us are like, yeah, maybe in 100 years, you know, the empire will collapse, but it looks like it's going to happen like in a couple of weeks. I mean, it's going down for real. As always, to unpack all of these crazy things, we're going to get to as much as we get to, but I am joined by my talented and illustrious co-host and singer and composer of our theme song, I should say, Mr. Mayor Jared. Hello, Mr. Mayor. How are you doing today?
Hey everybody, I'm doing pretty well. Gotta make whenever I come back from any kind of trip, it's like I eat the same thing basically every day for breakfast, or the same few things. So it becomes like, are we out of milk? Are we out of bread? And we're out of bread, so I put in a new bread. Get a bread machine, everybody.
Wow.
It's like my favorite thing now.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's your, yeah, we're all the time talking about learn how to do things, pick up skills, gardening if you can. Like, I know it's like, oh, that's ableist language. Okay, well, all right. But you still got to like try and figure something out. Like whatever's in your wheelhouse, whatever to your abilities, whatever you could do, learn things, talk about things, figure things out, just expand your horizons literally anyway. Our entire life experience is about like learning. So like do that. So
an electric automatic bread maker isn't a horribly like skill heavy or rustic object to buy, but
yeah, great start there.
It's taken me in this case, it's just taken me out of because you used to be able to get like the 89-cent ultra cheap loaf of like horrible white bread,
right.
And that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist anymore. Now it's like $2.99 for that same crappy bread. And I'm like, well, it cost me like 50 cents in ingredients maximum to make this loaf of bread. So like,
yeah, that's
if
really
I do
cool.
that once a week,
I'm very interested in what you're laying down here. I mean, because I don't do a lot of like bread generally, but you know, just because of the cost of things, you know. So, and I'm the
for
same.
A cup of coffee outside of my house in like years. It's not
yeah,
because I'm
right?
like. It's like I'm not doing this. It's like, oh, see, I'm much better than all of you by doing these things in my house. It's like it's becoming a budget reality,
necessity
and
reality. Yeah.
That can't reflect well on like the bread market, because I'm extremely fortunate as far as like Americans go, and I'm unwilling to spend $2.99 on the crappiest loaf of bread. I'm not going to spend $5.99 on the quote good bread. Either way, it's like I just need bread's like it's like a utility to me. It's like a blank noun that I can't just give me. I need like bread, flour, sugar, like water. Like I'm like,
right.
What kind of water is this? It's like, no, I need water. It's like one of the base elements of our food at this point.
Right.
So I feel like a schmuck if I'm paying any kind of money for it.
I'm right there with you. I feel like everything is just like packaged just, I mean, it's all, everything first of all is garbage. First, like first and foremost, just because you pay more for it doesn't mean it's also not like wheat used with soaked with glyphosate. Like everything is absolute fucking poison. So, and vegetables are expensive as fuck. That's why, like poor people, they're like, why do they have to live on Cheetos and Mountain Dew if they want? Yeah, they want to do that. That's what they want to do. Nobody ever wants to eat a fucking vegetable. Give me a break. So that's, if it's the more you can possibly do yourself, just even in small ways, the better off you're going to be. I'm right there with you on that one, because it's just, I hate giving money to these corporations. It is in some communities, it's possible to, find like, go to farmers markets if that's something you can do. It's possible to, maybe find local, vendors, like local farmers and things, where you can get your eggs and veggies. Most people don't have that opportunity, but if you do, that's going to be a better option overall. You'll definitely have more control over what you're
that's where
eating
it's
and taking.
the most expensive. That's where I
That's
can get
probably true
a $10
too.
dozen eggs.
Yeah, that's also probably true. I'm saying what my point of view is just try to do the best you can to avoid giving to corporations any way that you can, because they're making fools of us all. And they know that, they're giving you, and also just the overall quality of everything has just taken an absolute nosedive, so there's that as well. But that's just, I think that's probably a conversation for another day, because we all know that, and we have so much stuff that we want to get to today. And again, it's kind of exciting things that are going on, because it's just, this is really unknown territory to us. And things do repeat. It's like, oh well, shit, things were fucked up in the 20s, and things were fucked up in the 1850s, and things were fucked up in the 70s, and it's like, yeah, they were, but I'm not sure they were this fucked up. Things are pretty crazy at this stage, and we're talking about a lot of let me see, let me scroll my screen here. I got a frozen screen here when I'm trying to get somewhere. I don't know, I think maybe a key is getting pressed down by my keyboard or something. And what I'm trying to say is that where am I? Just that we are basically in this decline. This race to the bottom of how bad things can get is happening a lot faster than I thought, than I think anybody really thought that it was going to happen. And we're also seeing, but what's good coming out of this is outside of the world and other countries are seeming to make their move. Like they've been biding their time. They're done with the United States bullying. They're done with the terrorism. They're done with the overtaking of their resources and land, the bottoming out of their resources. So they have to be, reliant on American goods and American commerce. The world is seeming to unite outside of this. China and Taiwan are talking. The Koreas are talking, there was this big thing about Spain saying they weren't going to allow U.S. military to, go to and from anymore. And Trump was like, you better fucking don't. And the next goddamn day, the Spanish prime minister was in China. So, we're talking about a lot of things. And he's, at this point, and I cannot believe anybody or take anybody seriously that thinks that at this point Trump is in any actual meetings about any actual things. They're just taking him in a room and shaking plastic keys in his face. That's what's fucking happening at this point. So it's him versus everybody. And then of course they send in when they want to do negotiations with Iran, they send in chief smart guy and negotiator JD Vance. So we know everybody, the best people are on top of it right now. And then on top of that, we've got domestically, we've got what may be, I don't want to get my hopes up, but maybe a workers' revolt taking place. Until we start to see some data centers go up in flames, it might be, a false flag situation. But I think we're up to like 10 warehouses and stores that have not so mysteriously caught fire. And when that kind of stuff happens, it shows you that people are finally, for whatever their reasoning is, it might be their own personal reasoning, it might be global reasoning, it might be activism reasoning, but people are getting to a point where they are just fucking done with how things are going, how businesses run, and how much corporations are allowed to take advantage of people in this country. So we'll be talking about all these things in a little more detail, or at least some of them. We've only got an hour with you per week, so we'll get to what we get to. But I think Jared's going to kick us off here with what do you want to start with? Your
I want to start by talking. Guess what? It's Iran. It's always going to be Iran.
right, yeah. We're gonna be updating about Iran as long as there's an opportunity to do so. So
I'm trying to do more, at least an Iran sandwich, where it's not just 3 Iran things in a row. Well,
right,
I have
yeah.
a thing. We're going to talk about how Canada.
Well, it's interesting.
Canada,
Outside,
why Canada
just
is also
outside of
not doing high-speed rail, but.
Yeah, well, just outside of everything going on, it is interesting to see what's happening and what has been inspired by this aggression towards Iran, and how people do not seem to have a negative feeling towards Iran or believing any of the hype that the normal through the normal propaganda channels. And again, it might be overcompensating there. I assume most people are still nightly news people taking in whatever they are fed, but I think we're seeing a bigger movement than we ordinarily would be. So anyways, please continue, sir.
We keep hearing about sorry, we had like the Iran ceasefire, and then we had the, like you just mentioned, the JD Vance blitz, whatever it was, thing in Pakistan. And I was kind of I was actually I was accused of thinking that something would happen. Nothing ever happens. When they announced the Iran ceasefire deal, here's our 10 points of negotiation, and Trump's out there saying this is a basis for this is a good basis for negotiation. Like, oh, maybe something happened. It's like, no, it was just another one of these market jukes where it's every Friday. I'm trying to remember what the cycle is. It's like every Friday, but up until Friday, he's talking about how oh, we're figuring it out. We got talks, things are going great. And then every Friday night, he's like, we will destroy an entire civilization after the markets close.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to avoid going over $100 a barrel, where it's like, all right, where are we here? So we got all right,
that's
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then back to Monday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, back we're here on Tuesday. It's going back.
I don't understand how this is still working. This obviously shows you they're all just in collusion with each other.
They know it's they know this is. But if I'm figuring it out, they figured this out a long time ago.
Are you supposed to assume the people at the top of these gigantic corporations are fucking stupid like this? No, of course not. They know this is market manipulation of the highest order, but for somehow they're just sucking each other's dicks here, because there's what is the point of doing this?
Oh, look, while we were sitting here, it went down another 8 cents, whatever that means.
And what
another
is the
3
difference?
cents. Just watch this number all day.
Yeah, and what is the difference between this number and 100? It's symbolism only. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. You're still paying the same amount. We don't even get our fucking oil through that direction. So it shouldn't be making any difference to Americans at all, except that they're fucking juicing people or squeezing people like always.
So we got this. And this is a fun this is a fun one to read through, because it's one of those live updates. So you can just keep scrolling forever and going backwards in time. But we have U.S. But I didn't pay attention for 2 days, and then I read the headlines this morning. It's wait, what's happening? Because it was a headline of Saudi Arabia demands that U.S. ends blockade to the Strait of Hormuz. I'm wait, what's happening?
Yeah.
Which countries are doing, huh? Our great
Oh my
ally.
God! If the United States loses Saudi Arabia, it's fucking over. And I don't think that they're. I'm gonna choke on my own spit here. I don't think that there's even I think that it's like the looking over the shoulder meme at the other in it, the boyfriend and the girlfriend, and they look over, he's looking at the other girl. That's I think what Saudi Arabia is kind of doing right now. I think they are definitely China's on top here. Saudi Arabia is all about money. That's literally the only thing they care about. So at this point, I don't think that there's a lot gonna keep Saudi Arabia from just jumping ship like everybody is.
So we have U.S. imposes military blockade of Iranian ports. That's on Strait of Hormuz. That's one bit of, I guess, specificity that you should keep in mind. This is a blockade only on Iranian ports. So when you see later that XY ship is passing through the strait, they'll be like, oh, the blockade isn't happening. It's well, they're only blockading Iranian ports. So in theory, if you're taking United Arab Emirates oil through the strait, that's apparently fine. I don't know. I don't know if this is more weird wording to essentially make it sound like a thing is happening that is not.
I mean, so if CBS is reporting it, then it's going to be definitely skewed.
So what we got here? What to know about the Iran? Here's our top bullet points: U.S. blockade of Iran's ports and partial blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. A choke point of shipment for oil. Began supposedly yesterday. Iran warned it would retaliate if the U.S. carried out the blockade of its port, saying it would be illegal and essentially piracy, which, I mean, it's kind of, it sure seems like they're right in saying that. Tehran said no Gulf ports would be safe if traffic to and from its own is impeded. The threats follow the failure of talks in Islamabad over the weekend, to which I think we all kind of like. It's easy to say that those are essentially fake talks. That seems to be entirely market manipulation, just like all these phony ceasefires that happen and don't happen. Vice President J.D. Vance, who headed the U.S. delegation, said the main sticking point came down to Iran refusing to give up its nuclear ambitions. And remember, what nuclear ambitions means is they want some nuclear power plants. And at this point, I think Iran would be very stupid to not just be like, we're just going to build a bomb now because this is getting ridiculous. We saw how it chilled you people out over North Korea. Suddenly, North Korea, we're not messing with them nearly as much anymore. Yeah. And I've been told that that's what makes one a post-sadist, is if you think that world peace could be achieved through everybody just having a bomb. And that sure seems to be what it is. That seems to be true. If you look at the demonstration of history, the countries that have a nuke are not messed with. Israel famously doesn't have a nuke, of course, and that's why no one messes with Israel. CBS News has learned that Pakistan, who also holds a nuclear weapon, that's why Pakistan exists, baby. India does not like that Pakistan exists, but they have the bomb, so Pakistan will remain a nation.
And that has to be like the, I mean, it's fun, it's not funny, like funniest version of like of world feud that there is, Pakistan versus India. They're the same fucking thing. They just get mad at each other, and now they have weapons pointed at each other.
Well, it's like
they
it's
don't
the
like
Muslim.
each other.
It's Muslim versus Hindu situation where Pakistan, I'm pretty sure, is
it's more nuanced
Islamic.
than I'm making it sound. Yes,
and then you have India, majority Hindu, and then there's a whole freaking, that's their culture war. It's great. They get to get nothing done because you got to argue over Hindu versus Muslim.
And when you see in the media, like in shows and stuff, like the funniest shit is like when you see like characters that are Hindu and Pakistani or Indian and Pakistani are fighting, like they just fucking hate each other, and it's always hilarious. It's always written really well. Anyway, please go on.
CBS News learned that Pakistan is pushing to get, I don't care what Pakistan is pushing, we'll just leave that on that. Pakistan is pushing to get U.S. and Iran to resume negotiations in an effort to get a peace accord before the current ceasefire runs out next week. And then you can keep scrolling down here, and it goes backwards in time. Like, this is today.
Mm-hmm.
Xi says China to play a constructive role in promoting Mideast peace talks. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, China always comes out with a statement that's very reasonable whenever these things happen. What do we got?
Right.
Israeli military says soldier, singular, killed in Lebanon. Oh, no. The Israeli military said Tuesday that a soldier had been killed. Why is Israel in Lebanon? What's happening there?
After the gajillion people in Lebanon that they just fucking wiped off the map. Yeah, all right.
It's very, I mean, I don't think that news coverage would change anything, but yeah, like we're just mid full-scale Lebanon invasion, and that just doesn't get talked about at all. Right. I mean, I guess it's less important to U.S. interest than the Strait of Hormuz, but that seems to be, it's like, quick, people are distracted, run in and grab a bunch of Lebanon as you do.
Yeah.
And we got that's just the reports that where it'll be singular soldier. And it's like, well, how many Lebanese have been killed in the last, I don't know, month, year, since October 7th, etc. Like, that if Lebanon wanted to just be taking out Israeli civilians, the numbers would be different. But only one group of people seems to be blowing up elementary schools. What else? Mideast war revs up. This is all in the last hour. It's all from 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m., 2:50 a.m. Mideast war revs up electric car demand in Asia because their oil's expensive. So once again, China's just getting pushed towards the good decisions it's already made. What else we got here?
Right.
Rubio participate Israel-Lebanon talks Tuesday. So you can just scroll all day and just have a horrible time. Vance says the ball is in Iran's court now until Friday when markets close again, and we will change our position.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, it is. It is. It basically is. It's a game that they're bouncing the ball back and forth, and it's mostly the American media that's making you think that it's some sort of game or some sort of, 3D chess situation going on, and it absolutely isn't. If you look at the people who are in charge and running, Iran, you're talking about like educated PhD having people, and then look at America. End of story. I mean, like, I think that really is like what. Like all you need to know about how things are going and who is running the show here.
I never want to encourage people to just totally check out, but it's almost like on this particular on Iran, you can probably just check out for a while because you're just gonna get at the end of every week, and at the beginning of every week, and nothing will fundamentally be different than the situation at the beginning, where
Yeah.
the straits getting fought over. The U.S. is not gonna do the shit that Iran wants them to, but the U.S. is at a strategic relative disadvantage because that whole region is just kind of strategically fallen apart. It's like I've been talking about. They've already hit refining facilities, etc. Production is already hindered. They could end the war yesterday, and they aren't going to magically become repaired. And the U.S. isn't going to come in and like rebuild them.
Yeah,
Hey,
as we
Iran, let's
really
help you out.
found
Get
out.
these
Yeah.
refineries
Yeah,
going
and
again.
I love this story too because also seems like China's been very quiet, very level-headed, very staying out of all this,
That's
letting
their
America
job.
just, America, eat itself alive. To obviously just, from a more peaceful standpoint, but also a strategic standpoint and a financial standpoint to show everybody else, like, all right, time to disinvest from America and invest in
We
us
are a
now.
competent. China is a competent business
Yes.
partner that
Yes.
not going to freak out and melt down every
Right.
Monday and Friday,
Yeah.
and you get to just go like, "What's happening?" Like, no,
Yeah,
China's like,
so
"Hello,"
I love this story that you're about to talk about. I love this because
because
I
it's like,
think
what is the condition of this blockade? This is
right.
from today. Chinese tanker crosses Strait of Hormuz, testing Trump's blockade, and that's why I mentioned that. Well, it's only specifically Iranian ports because they aren't actually blocking the Strait of Hormuz, and they have to have something to fall back on when China just continues to like la la la. I'm just doing my business. I'm
Right,
gonna
yeah.
continue getting oil out.
Right.
Well, we
And
aren't blockading that part, so like
yeah,
our
exactly.
thing still counts. Don't pretend that China's disobeying us. They're still like it has to be
Yeah, and
like.
that's where the media manipulation comes in because like they're like, oh well, no, there's parts of it, and they want you to think that America has blockaded the entire strait. That is not the case. There is still passage through. It still belongs to Iran. They get to decide who comes and goes, and and they are dealing with people, and we know as we were talking about in the past couple of weeks, they are already working with China, saying they're getting off that they want to get off the dollar and have anybody who passes through the strait pay in yen. So like that is such a major global upset there, like alone, like so like definitely don't take American media like you shouldn't be. If you're listening to this, it's probably already rule number one. But like don't take American media seriously because they are spinning these stories, out the ass. Like this is not what's happening. This is not the reality of the situation.
We got Rich Starry, a medium-range tanker, traveled through the strait on Monday afternoon, making it through the waterway on a second attempt. Oh, I heard that a ship was turned around, so maybe that's the one.
Oh,
So
is that
it's
what
like,
they're trying to make
can
big
I
deal
go?
out of?
No, I'm gonna go anyway. Like,
Yeah,
that's
we're
fine,
gonna do
I
it
guess.
anyway. Yeah, and yeah, again, they're just like, do something about it, okay? Like, like
You would have to start either boarding or blowing up Chinese oil tankers, which I don't think the U.S. is gonna do.
We're really
I
not in a
hope
position
not.
to do that. Well, honestly, I wouldn't put it past the United States to do that. Because once again, don't sit here and think that Trump
Now
is
they'll say
running the
it's
show. The
they'll do it
CIA
and say
is.
it was terrorists. They'll be like,
Right,
oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah,
Iran blew up the
exactly,
ship
right?
for some reason.
But yeah, don't sit and think that Trump is deciding. Trump is in charge. He's not in charge. It's the donors and the CIA that are running the show here. So that that's what all this is all about. It's like who and what is going on. So you can't believe what you're being told without really like thinking like this. This sounds wrong. This definitely sounds wrong.
So we got, and there's always these many layers of, as we're all learning about these, how maritime commerce works in weird ways where ships from one country stick flags of another country and then are owned by a third, fourth, and fifth country that make the whole thing complicated here, where the ship flies under the Malawi flag, but the African country has stated it has that's not us, no official relationship with the ships. The vessel has a Chinese crew on board, according to Reuters. And then, where is it? Shanghai Xuanrun Shipping Company owns the ship, right? And they are sanctioned since 2023 for its dealings with Iran, meaning oil.
It sounds the same as like when you watch like dog show and then like 5 people own one dog, but it's not the person who's running them around in the race.
Oh yeah, and then that's a totally separate person, the actual
Yeah,
trainer,
right?
who it could be separate from the breeder, who is then a third
Right,
person.
yeah. Like those little fuckers are so expensive. Like there's like split 3 ways,
Yeah,
and then
team.
also a guy that runs around and feeds them treats. So
That's why in the dog show, when it's someone who's like, this person handling it, like, that's theirs, it's all their dog. They're like, whoa, how weird.
yeah,
Nobody,
right.
like nobody
Yeah.
does that.
Like, how rich are you?
Owner handlers. Another U.S. sanctioned Chinese tanker. Oh boy, let's say it. Murlikishan passed through the strait from the opposite direction. Is currently located in the Persian Gulf. Second tanker flies under the Madagascar flag and is headed to Iraq to load fuel on April 16th. And
Right.
see, like, if you're trying to follow the official thing, it's like, well, see, they're not going to Iran. They're going to Iraq, which is not one of the blockaded ones. It's great. We're just blockading people in their own country. So it's like a siege, I guess, right?
They assume people have no idea where this is. They assume people don't know how any of this stuff works. So they just say this stuff right in your face, or they're like, even like people who do, to sit here and read it and be like, okay, this must be what's going on.
This had my favorite headline, which is Strait of Hormuz traffic. Again, this is from yesterday now. Barely affected. Strait of Hormuz traffic barely affected on first day of U.S. blockade. Data shows. That's what I mean. This is somehow supposed to move the oil price up and or down based on what the people who own the stock market want this week. Mm-hmm. And then by the time we get to Friday, it'll be the opposite. We'll be either back in negotiations or we've blockaded the Atlantic Ocean, the whole thing with we've blockaded.
Here's the new stupid version of
blockaded Lake Ontario, and we will not allow.
Yeah, and that's what we're saying. Like here, like obviously, like this is deeply stupid bullshit that is just made up to try to make Americans think that we're on top of this when we're in charge of this, and that's just not the case. So, there's also been, a lot of there. I don't want to get too optimistic, but it was like what I was saying is I'm thinking that just generally for different reasons, more people are waking up to things, even if it's not the right thing at the right time, or, like people are just getting really sick of how everything is going. I always say that when I have the show running, I have the Twitter trending topics up on my screen as well. And one of the trending topics that's just come up is healthcare, not Trump's war. So we do still have, that's what I mean about motivations being different. So a lot of, obviously,
I can't wait for that to all completely flip when it's like vote for Newsom. It's like stop the war,
yeah,
and they're like, shut up. We have to get Newsom in. I don't care about your stupid war. What are you, MAGA? It's gonna be great.
Then, that's also what we're talking about too, which is how you always hear from us at Uniparty, and there's no daylight between this, that, and the other. And now we have Kamala Harris threatening again to run and
threatening to run. It's very scary.
And that's what it is. It's either it's going to be her again or it's going to be Newsom. And the idea is that they're going to use one against the other to scare you into try to scare you into voting.
Don't blame me. I voted for Kamala.
Right? Yeah, that again. We'll be doing that because there's no chance that I think Gavin Newsom stands a very good chance, but definitely not.
I'm sticking on. I made that bet. I'm sticking with it. I think it's going to be Newsom.
Yeah. That's what I thought was going to happen, and I turned out to be wrong. I thought that was going to happen when Kamala went forward the last time, and I'm like, oh well, I guess that did make sense. She was technically the vice president, even though it was like nothing. And it like vice president is nothing, and is literally just there as this debata if something like if a president gets their head blown off at a parade. But like they put a new version of is nothing, when she went into office, and then now we have Vance and that they
we had Vice President Biden president, and then they tried to then do like another vice down from that to Kamala.
Right, yeah. So she was like less than nothing, and that's. So I was like, oh, I guess I didn't even think about her being like, oh yeah, she's there. Like when I was saying it was going to be Newsom put forward, like I was like, oh no, I guess. To fight Trump. I had forgotten she even existed effectively.
It usually ends up being somebody you've never heard of in your life.
Yeah.
But like the fact that everyone's sitting here going, Gavin Newsom, that's crazy. Everybody hates Gavin Newsom.
Everybody hates already.
We're going to be there.
Yeah.
Everybody hates Joe Biden. He was still the candidate and the president.
Yeah.
Everybody hates Kamala Harris.
That's how you know that all of this is a fucking sham. So that's that's the big and then right there is like I said he just trended back on. Gavin Newsom's trending again. He went off and now he's back on. So and that's the thing too. And he is saying horrible fucking things right out in the open, right? But like nothing's even happening yet. And he's like, I fucking love Israel. I suck Israel's dick all day. Also, there should be military mandatory service in the United States. Ha ha ha. Fuck you guys. Like that's what's going on right now, and nothing's
should be
even
allowed to vote
happened yet. And those are things that are coming out of this man's mouth.
Really, if you want to control your shit right now, you should go get an Israeli citizenship so you can vote in their elections, because Netanyahu's
Right.
coming up for a vote here pretty soon, and he
Well,
can't
he's
lose.
been out. He's been voted out before, but it changes nothing. It's just like what just happened in Hungary. So they got that one asshole out. They have another asshole taking his place. This is all planned, and they did this big expose a couple of weeks ago on John Oliver on how corrupt and how fucked up and how step by step they took away democracy in Hungary. And it's just like, and like
I think that's
it was
like a
meant to be a
serious
warning.
situation. That's like a
It's like
serious
we're already
thing
75% there.
where I don't think that like when I say that I think Syria was better off before the current regime, administration, wherever you want, Al Qaeda, before Al Qaeda was put in power. Literally, the guy was in Al Qaeda, and now he's in the White House. Literally, they invited him to the White House. He was in a suit, hanging out with Trump. Al Qaeda. He was formerly on the FBI most wanted list. He now runs Syria, and it's not that I loved everything about Assad, the guy who previously was running Syria, but it is hard to argue that it wasn't better off beforehand, and I'm scared that Hungary is just going to be another one of those where it's like, don't love Orban, but like, let's see what this other guy does.
Right. And, a couple of cycles back, I don't know exactly what it is, but a couple of cycles back, Netanyahu was replaced for it. There was some legal trouble about the legitimacy or something like that.
He has lawsuits waiting as soon as he's not president.
Right. Well, he was off for a cycle, and then he came right back. So it's like, this has nothing to do with the talking idiot head that's in front of everybody.
Who's the best
everything
mascot
to do,
for the current situation? Sometimes you don't need your Netanyahu. Other times it's time to kill a million babies, and you got to get your Netanyahu back in there.
Yeah. Everybody
cheerleader.
knows him now. Like, he's the face of evil, effectively, and so many people
He's
out
the
here.
nine-fingered hand of evil.
Right? Yeah, and then you get so
Sipping.
many liberals out here like, it's not the Israeli people. It's 100,000% the Israeli people. They are fucking scumbag, horrible mutants.
Well,
And I don't care who hears me say that. Like, that is literally my point of view. Like, they are the worst people who have ever fucking existed in like the history of life. They're fucking colonizers who don't need to be there, and they are like disgusting perverts on top of everything else. And I've just fucking had it with people saying that they're fine. Yeah, maybe a couple of them are, but by and large,
citizenship Israelis who are not permitted legally to leave the country, I'd love to hear what they have to think. I don't know about all these like triple passport holder Polish people who can just quickly leave their vacation home whenever things get weird.
Right?
I don't know how much they really care about this. I don't know how much they take it seriously. Is it they can just go back to Brooklyn where they own other properties, and these aren't hypotheticals.
For real. Yeah, they are really like the worst of the worst. And it's like, oh well, nobody's worse than the Nazis. How about the people that learned how from the Nazis? So let's go there. I don't want to spend this hour talking about Israelis and how much
I have a thing about Canada, because I should just start a segment called "Taking Canada Down a Peg," because that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
As much as like I have Canadian friends who have just seemingly perfect clarity about American politics, and then it comes over to the Canadian situations, and their brain just turns right back off, and you're like, I see it happening all over the place. Where people have a hard time examining their own stuff, but when it's someone else's stuff, it seems very obvious and clear. Like, so Canada's over there thinking like, well, we have healthcare, and that's when I'll bring up, well, yeah, but your healthcare seems to be policy leaned towards killing a certain group of people. The poorer you are, the more likely it seems they will suggest that you medically kill yourself, and they'll provide you that's MAID's medical assistance in dying, I think is MAID, like the acronym. And then it'll be like this kind of thing will come up. This is great. This is the lowest stakes story we've had in a while. No one needs to die in this story. There's no missiles involved in this story. But Canada, they're having some high-speed rail things coming up for votes. And I just typed in for fun into like the news bit of Google, Canada high-speed rail. And what are all the headlines? Live Q&A, cool. Opinion, Canada's high-speed rail train project set to go off the rail. Up. Next one. What Canada could do with the $90 billion it's blowing on high-speed rail. Canada's high-speed rail dream is a liberal slush fund. Every headline is a bad idea. Like every single headline from all these different papers are just like, no.
Where have we seen those tactics before?
Critics warn of catastrophe. Is that how you spell catastrophe? Is that a French spelling? I don't care. So, should be fully publicly owned. All right, I mean, that's something. I do believe that would be the better way to do it.
Yeah, you want to do it and make it publicly owned.
Carney's defending it. Carney sucks. He's Bank of England, fucking Epstein ass. All right,
Right.
let's look at here. We're gonna go. Oh, sorry. Can I fight through this one? No, I don't. I could just read it. Really? Oh, will it not even show me the article? Oh, this is great. Oh, that's fine. Let me just undo my closed tab here. Oh God, I don't know how. There it is. But let's do a different. Let's do the go off the rails. Sorry, theglobeandmail.com. I'm gonna read off the Toronto Star now. Oh God, they have one too. Can I? Will it just let me? Oh my. Okay, we're gonna. Nicolette, talk about something while I find one of these.
Well, we have more info on that. Well, we'll follow up on that a little bit. But the thing of it is that it's just I think the idea here is that at this point, what Canada's constantly looked at like this mecca of like not America, but right there. Also, if you want to go live, and it sounds sort of like America. It's gonna save you. It's only better because they're just not as bad off as we are yet, but they are well on the way. And if you want to talk about someone in the West who's doing it right, let's talk about fucking Mexico then, because they're the ones that have just decided they're doing, like shit right. They are doing universal health care. That has been
Claudia
announced
keeps
now.
making announcements, and I have high hopes for them actually doing it. But Claudia sure seems to say a lot of stuff and then not do it.
Yeah, we'll
I'm
see.
sending oil to Cuba. Are you though, Claudia? Are you
Right.
sending oil to Cuba, or do you want a
It
positive
makes a
headline?
good headline, and we'll see about it. But they are seeming to, where you have America, the giant asshole of the West in the world, and then you have Canada, who's like slightly smaller version of that. They're starting to try to stand on their own and at least look like they're making an attempt to improve life and their standing in the world.
So I found with a no paywall, we got nationalpost.com telling us about, here we are, 90 billion is a jaw-dropping sum of money. I just want to remind everyone that the first batch of money that the U.S. sent to Ukraine was in the hundreds of billions, and that money doesn't come back. It's not for like stuff. It's for bombs that then explode and go away, as opposed to a rail system that will not explode. And
Right.
go. It's not single use. You can use it many times. First reading is Canadian Public.
Pretty much as you want, actually.
Yeah. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says, I'm going to say all the French names funny, said that if he ever became prime minister, he would scrap the Alto rail project, the tall rail project, a $90 billion program. Put an E on that program. Come on, Canada announced in the final days of Justin Trudeau's premiership that proposed to build high-speed rail between Toronto and Quebec City. Poilievre's main stated objection to the projects that will require extensive expropriations of private property across Ontario and Quebec.
Oh, that's what they're worried about? They'll tear up every fucking tree in the goddamn country, but that's what they're worried about?
Well, you know what we're currently getting our land expropriated for? Data centers.
Right, yeah.
Not even talking about that today, and we're talking about data centers still. The Carney Liberals will confiscate farmland and private property. He told a press conference, guys, the rail, it's not that much. It's just like a strip of, it's not like they do a big Walmart-sized like parking lot around the thing.
It's amazing how it works in every other country that does it.
Expropriations aside, $90 billion is a jaw-dropping sum of money for Canada. It's really not that much to spend on anything, much less a project. Dude, that's like 20 missiles. That's like 2 fighter jets, about twice as fast as the existing via rail service. So like there is rail that goes between the thing, but as I've looked into it, it's just extremely sparse service, and it's kind of slow. Like they run only so many trains a day versus
just like America. Interesting.
Given that Canada has roughly 22 million people who are net tax contributors, Alto would be representing a starting cost of at least $4,000 per Canadian taxpayer. It's just funny how these kind of things get broken down that way, but like military budgets don't.
Right.
The Liberals have countered that Alto is a bold and ambitious project that would be transformative for the nation. But if the goal is simply to spend $90 billion on something bold and transformative, there's much more. So I'm just going to list other things. What they're going to do is now list a whole bunch of shit they're going to not do that could cost $90 billion. Oh, build an entire second Canada.
Oh my God.
Is Canada's yearly GDP $90 billion? That's it. You guys these are rookie numbers. Canada, at least the western part, is essentially a planned community. The federal government of the late 19th century cut a railway to the Pacific Ocean and encouraged development to bloom around it. The prosperity that has resulted has dwarfed the cost of the cost of the railroad that spawned it. Calgary, home to 100 billion annual GDP. Well, there you go. 200 corporate headquarters, 1.5 million people, exists almost entirely because a Canadian Pacific Railroad planner decreed that it would be a rail hub. It seems like they're arguing for the railway right now because they're saying that last time we built a train, all this happened. Since what happened between then and now that makes it so hard to build trains? Since the 1960s, there have been proposals for Canada to simply do this again, extend a bunch of highways, railways, and power lines into the largely unoccupied boreal forest, and watch as it becomes a multi-billion-dollar latticework of new cities and resource projects. You know how many China stories I'm holding back mentioning right now? Mm-hmm. Modern-day boosters of this plan call it the Mid-Canada Corridor, and the basic idea is to fill in the Canadian map along a belt of land stretching from Labrador to Yukon, and their back-of-the-envelope calculation of how much it would cost just happens to be about $100 billion. Solve Canada's electricity deficit. Oh, they're saying that another thing that we could do here. Since the 1960s, Canada has boasted some of the cheapest and most abundant electricity on Earth. But over just the last few years, Canada has become a net importer of electricity. Are they gonna say that that Canada should build a bunch of nuclear reactors? Because I would totally agree with that. What do they say we should do with this?
It's clear it's every time we hear one of these. But what about? What are we going to do about the blackouts and the nuclear fucking energy? Right, fucking there.
Oh, hydroelectric dam, that's something. But you know what makes more?
What
makes more power than hydroelectric?
Congress with each other. You can have nuclear energy and you can have green energy happening everywhere, and everyone can have everything that they fucking need and not destroy the fucking planet in the process.
But what if you instead built a liquid natural gas pipeline, which is their third suggestion? Oh man. Okay, what's next? Triple our Pacific oil exports. Oh yeah, we can do oil. Nobody will mention nuclear. We got to vote on our. I say got to. We technically have a publicly controlled utility, even though it's privately done, blah, blah, whatever. But you can vote on some of the board members, and I was just going through looking like, does it even want? We already have the largest. I don't know by how measure. I don't know if it's by square footage or by like kilowatt output, but we have the Palo Alto station which is a nuclear thing. We have a nuclear thing out here near Phoenix that is significant, and I'm over here saying like just build another one, just build a second one next to it, expand, like put a new reactor in that one. I'm not really an expert on these things, but build more nuclear power, and I'm looking to see if any of the candidates mention nuclear, and one did. For like one sentence, she's like, increase nuclear capacity. It's like, okay, cool. There you go. That's all I really care about. If you want your bills to go down, that's just how you do it. It's a solved issue. Establish a Canadian moon base. Okay, now you guys just being assholes. But do you see how like they'll mention a moon base before they mention building another nuclear reactor?
We don't need a motherfucking moon base. We don't need any. Everybody stay the fuck off the moon. All right.
They'll mention this.
Leave the moon alone. It's nobody's. It belongs to nobody.
They'll mention this as a joke before they mention like any actual solutions.
Like, get fucking real. Be real here. Goddamn.
And
this is just an example of like, okay, like, overall, the reason we're talking about this, like, why are you giving shit about this? Because like, this is a sample of just like the Western ideals of how backwards and stupid shit is, because they're so worried about serving capital, and they're so worried about sticking with what they're going to make the most money off of. And if there is something like this, obviously the car industries aren't going to make money, and the oil industries aren't going to make as much money because they can't materially benefit from it. So who's going to sponsor being against it? Who's going to run their little puppet candidates about being against it? This is right out of the American playbook. So if everybody wants to sit around and be like, Canada's so much better, they're smarter, they're calmer, they're nicer, they're better, no, they're fucking not. This is the exact same situations that we get into here in like, Iowa or wherever. It's the exact same situation.
So I submit for more evidence that the culture war exists entirely for not the reasons that it's not for the actual culture war purposes. Guess what? The last thing that they at the end, just to round out this article, they have to bring up trans. There just has to be like, look, in Colorado, trans happened.
God, Jesus,
So,
what is
like,
that? This
it
was
has
about fucking trans.
nothing to do with anything. But they're like, we get that most people aren't that fired up one way or another about this rail, so we gotta like trans. We gotta throw that out there. Did you know that trans?
Completely
Like,
not,
we have to-
right?
You know what kind of sounds like
Completely
trans?
unfucking
Trains.
serious. If
Coincidence?
this article is talking about we could spend the money on a moon base and also the evils of trans fucking people who are whatever, then like they might use the rail system as same as the normal people. Come on.
What if the trans get on the trains?
Right? Oh my God!
It's
Right?
only one letter off.
Now that reminds me, like that kind of stupidity is like it's like where is this even coming from? Kind of argument, and this is kind of a weird kind of jump, but I don't know.
They need to hit a word count, maybe. They had a certain
right,
number of
yeah,
words.
or it's just some AI garbage that somebody signed off on. But we no, okay. I started too many things are going on in my head at the same time. I don't know if you saw this, but this is something that just absolutely like, sometimes you see things and it's just like, I can't get more angry, and then you find this whole new level of angy. And that is exactly what's happened. But let me see if I can pull this up on my screen here real quick. If it'll actually even work, because I don't know if I've been trying to be a little more adventurous about screen sharing, even though it hasn't. It's because I haven't had any major fuck ups from my end here. But I'm going to try and share this real quick so that you can see this. Because I don't know, you were doing your thing this past couple of days, so I don't know if you got to see this or not. But let's see if you can see it. Yeah. Okay. So you know what this is? Show it. You know what this is? This is and it's real, this really happened. Alleged protest against ICE, where protest, quote unquote, did a two-legged race tied together with ICE handcuffs, holding dildos, and awarding each other actual trophies in the end because they're just so fucking adorable. Okay, so that actually did happen, and this is why. Okay, like new level. Here comes the trophy. There it is, just so you can see I wasn't lying about the trophy. Right? No, there you go. Okay. All right. So cute. So cute. Good stuff.
If it seems like I'm ever harsh on if it sounds like I'm harsh on quote the left, it's because this is what
turn it off.
I guess the left
How do you turn it off
now. This is what we do. You run up to turn off your screen share. You got to go over to like where we are on the little circles on the right, and then click the slider. But
all right, I see it.
Okay,
thank you.
This is where you run up to the ICE detention facility, open the doors, and then don't do anything. It's like.
My
hooray.
suggestion was like put them in the fucking facility. Like I cannot even believe what I'm looking at right now, and it's just because we're on the topic of everything being so fucking stupid. Like take these things seriously, please. Like please get somewhere like and do something for real. And that's kind of where we are possibly seeing some worker revolts happening and some people, in this rash of fires that's happened in stores and warehouses and things like this. And the only thing that I would say is like, is this a false flag thing for, more policing and more like it always kind of is? Or are we really seeing people actually motivated past the whole no kings, four-legged race, not dildo nonsense? What I just want to hear from one of these people and like literally legitimately want to hear what they think that they did. Like, what do you think that you're achieving here? What is this? If it's to get attention, I guess, well done there. But, you're not doing anything. You're not helping anybody. You're just taking up fucking space and being, just a massive problem to everybody who's even serious about anything going on here. So it's just this kind of stupid shit. It's the no king stuff. But this is the first time, any of that stuff's happened that I've seen so many people push back against it. And then now we're starting to see our people actually legitimately like revolting, because in the old days you would rely on unions for that kind of a thing to say, hey, we're striking. We're not doing the things. We're going to fight you. If you try to send the cops on them, we will beat their asses. And things, but there's no uniting factor anymore. you think you hear unions all the time these days, but they're not like in the numbers that they used to be, in those days. And, when they were starting and up through the 70s, that's not like a thing, basically. So what I'm getting at here is I want to make note of this having happened, because some people are really like, workers are standing up, people are realizing this is about wages, blah 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 blah. Like 16, like what was it, Nestle or something just today, like fired 16,000 employees to do things in an automated way. But what we're not seeing is any kind of attacks or movements on data centers. And I think if you do see that, then this is probably going to be more of a legitimate people driven situation. But it, and in some ways it's like, oh, it's too bad it had to go that way. But it's like, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. Like, what is taking you people so long to just because what do I always say? Americans will bend and bend and bend and bend and bend some more and then bend some more and see how much more they can bend, but they never really actually break and hit a breaking point. And it's obviously so that we don't have our shit shut down and we can't be like, yeah, go for it, do it. Like, yeah, we're all about it. We're just talking about that it's happening. Right? Like we can't really, cross, that bridge at this point. If we, it doesn't do us any good to be taken off the air. So that's just the point though. But the question is, are workers starting to stand up for themselves? Have they reached a breaking point? Is this a real thing that's happening? I don't know yet, but it is a very large number of facilities and stores and things that and it seemed like they did have the first person who did the first I think it was Kimberly Clark warehouse seems to be have been put into custody, but again it could be a Luigi situation, which again he's still in jail and they clearly was not the guy, or if he was the guy, they can't prove it. So don't forget about Luigi out there. I don't like it when they kind of make him the face of rebellion, because I'm not even really necessarily convinced it was him in the first place. I think it was just a bunch of cop bullshit. But so it's hard to say. But anyways, that's something that we're gonna kind of keep our eyes on, because it's is this a thing? Is something happening? Because we're always gonna, regardless of what it is, except if it's the fucking dildo race, stand behind people waking up and figuring things out, right? You have to, in whatever means that you feel is right for you, do something about something. And that's what we're always saying, whether you're going to educate yourself or I guess burn down a warehouse, one thing or the other. This is something that, is this going to move people? Is this going to change things? And that's what we were talking about at the top of the hour. We know things here were already just tremendously fucked up, and then now we're kind of it's the race to the bottom. And while all this stuff is happening domestically and things are getting worse for people here and will get worse as America's or United States standing on in the global perspective goes even further down, the other countries around and the donors are finding ways to work around it and get out from under the tyranny of the United States. So it's we got to this point through our own hubris, we could be the world bullies and we could be the world police and we can decide who gets what weapons and we can decide who gets what food, and nobody can do anything about it. Turns out some people can do some things about it. So it would be great. It is great to see that there's a kind of much more harmonious kind of almost world peace minus US and Israel thing going on right now. That is a little general, but I think you get the point. So I'm gonna let Jared say a word now. He gets to make a comment on this, but I just think that we are seeing some very unprecedented moments here taking place that we can't really tell where it's quite going yet.
So when we're talking about people burning down warehouses in responses to real, whether or not it's an op, whether or not it's a thing set up to freak us all out is almost a separate conversation. But yeah, I want to talk about what we're talking about is spontaneous acts of what you could call, to be really positive, spontaneous acts of class consciousness. I don't know. Is this somebody who's just freaked out or thing? So there's a guy, Vladimir Lenin, and he was writing all about this back in the day. If you want to read his pamphlet, again, pamphlet, it's not even book length. It's 40, 50 pages maximum in big text if you include the footnotes.
Really long.
What is to be done? So if you have some questions, what should we do? What is to be done? Well, there's a book called What is to be Done, pamphlet called What is to be Done that you could read. The back half of it, to spoiler what he thinks should be done, it's a combination of, in his day, he's all about like let's make a better newspaper because newspapers it's the turn of the century. That's what your maximum technology would be today. I guess you'd be like fucking Twitter. I don't know, online
Better
something.
social media, better social options. Yes.
And creating a class of specifically professional revolutionaries. Like he's like, we need to get a party of people who are hardcore about this. It's going to be relatively small because as he goes on to do, it's like, look, every time we get a little club going, the cops come in, raid it, all your best people get arrested and or like killed because it's,
Right.
what is it, Tsarist Russia at the time. So like, how do we actually get some freaking momentum going here? And part of his, like the beginning of it is talking about the argument between, not argument between or about, it's about spontaneous actions. You could call somebody burning down a warehouse, you can definitely call that a spontaneous act. You could call it adventurism, which is used in a negative light in Leninism. Not because it's like I fundamentally disagree with the sentiment and it feels kind of good to be like, haha, screw you people who are treating your workers bad, we burn down your warehouse. But what is the actual material effects of doing that? Well, the company's going to get an insurance payout, and then whoever's working that warehouse is going to, like, their employment situation is going to be weird for a few weeks, but, like, business will continue rolling. No one's ever overthrown a government by doing spontaneous acts of rebellion like this. So, like, let's talk about it. I'm going to read the first and last paragraphs of this section because it gets pretty into the weeds. But we have the spontaneity of the masses and consciousness of the social democrats. We have said that our movement, much more extensive and deep than the movement of the 70s, the 1870s, must be inspired with the same devoted determination and energy that inspired the movement at that time. Indeed, no one, we think, has until now doubted that the strength of the present-day movement lies in the awakening of the masses, principally the industrial proletariat. Hey, working in a warehouse, you're part of the industrial proletariat, and that its weaknesses, its weakness lies in the lack of consciousness and initiative among the revolutionary leaders. However, because he's going on to make this point here that the people are actually ahead of like their consciousness. They're like, wait, we should be at this level, and then you go around to look for like, well, what party? And they're not. They're like behind the masses. However, of late, a staggering discovery has been made which threatens to disestablish all hitherto prevailing views on this question. The discovery was made by Рабочее дело, which is the newspaper he does not like, which in its polemic with Iskra, his newspaper, and Zarya, a friend newspaper, did not confine... It's great, man. It's this whole newspaper beef you get to read about. It's very funny. Did not confine itself to making objections on separate points, but tried to ascribe general disagreements to a more profound cause, to the different appraisals of the relative importance of the spontaneous and consciously methodical element. Your spontaneous, methodical. Рабочее дело formulated its indictment as a belittling of the significance of the objective or the spontaneous element of development. He's arguing over, like, do we put a lot of weight on hoping the workers just... We're really pissed off, and today we're going to walk down to the mayor's house and spontaneous, as opposed to planning, worked, organized. Like when you hear spontaneous development would be the opposite of organization in the way that we use that word now. Go out and organize, everyone. To this we say, had the polemics with Iskra or Zarya resulted in nothing more than causing Рабочее дело to hit upon these general disagreements, that alone would give us considerable satisfaction. So significant is this thesis, and so clear is the light it sheds on the quintessence of the present-day theoretical and political differences that exist among Russian social democrats. For this reason, the question of relation between consciousness and spontaneity is of such enormous general interest, and for this reason, the question must be dealt with in great detail. And as we see... There is great detail that he goes
elaborating.
I'm gonna elaborating. He goes through. He's like, let us recall the example of Germany, and he goes through historical examples of like, remember all these times spontaneous uprising things happened, and look how it led to absolutely nothing in the end, right? Because there were not and. While you're reading this, you could get the idea that Lenin's like, we need to have this superior class of revolutionaries who tell all these dummies what to do, when really what he's saying is the opposite, which is the people are actually 3 or 4 steps ahead of our supposedly revolutionary leaders, and this is written to revolution. Like, you guys need to get your shit together. Like, this bum on the street, he doesn't have any of the book reading that you have. He hasn't gone through all these essays and stuff, yet somehow his level of consciousness has surpassed your own.
He's literally out there living it.
in What Is to Be Done, he's arguing that like basically the revolutionaries need to step it up and fill their role of like helping to concentrate and direct. Like, yes, all the things that your feelings are correct. Now here's what is to be done. Here's what we can actually do about it. So let me get down here. All right. And so, we have become convinced that the fundamental error committed by the new trend in Russian social democracy is its bowing to spontaneity and its failure to understand that the spontaneity of the masses demands a high degree of consciousness from us, social democrats. That's what he called communists at the time. We changed the word social democrat since then.
Yeah, and we've talked about that quite a bit, how the terminology has changed
somewhat. At this point, social democracy is like kind of what the U.S. is right now. It's a messed up form of social democracy where the commies will use to differentiate from themselves, where at the time, Lenin was doing the exact opposite with the same freaking words, where he's like, oh, I am not a mere socialist, I'm a social democrat. All right. The greater the spontaneous upsurge of the masses and the more widespread the movement, the more rapid, incomparably so, the demand for greater consciousness in the theoretical, political, and organizational work of social democracy. Basically, if the frickin' public's here, you gotta be here. We can't be tailing. We can't just be following along. When they went up and punched that door and got the door open to the detention facility and didn't do anything, that was a spontaneous, hopefully, act. Like, I assume there wasn't, like, some, like, Fed and they were like, go up and open the gate and now don't do anything. But, like,
you're taking it at face value.
That's spontaneous act. When they have, CHOP during Black Lives Matter summer, where they had the autonomous anarchist zone in Capitol Hill in Seattle. That's a spontaneous thing. Right? And that doesn't mean it's bad. In fact, the emotions behind it are usually, I fully agree with. I'm like, yes, you're correct in what you want and what you're thinking about this. This is an unjust situation and I want to do something about it. And then you just get all we have to do something. And then you go out and do your four-legged dildo race. Ha ha ha, we got you. We really stuck it to them, because there's nobody around to be like, hey, here's a useful direction you could funnel that into. That might be what is lacking. That's what Lenin said was lacking in 1904 or whatever when he's doing this. The spontaneous upsurge of the masses in Russia proceeded and continues with such rapidity that the young social democrats proved unprepared to meet these gigantic tasks.
Yeah.
This unpreparedness is our common misfortune, the misfortune of all Russian social democrats. The upsurge of the masses proceeded and spread with uninterrupted continuity. It not only continued in the places where it began, but spread to new localities and to new strata of the population, and under the influence of the working class movement, there was a renewed ferment among the student youth, among the intellectuals, freaking Columbia University and all that shit, amongst the student youth, among the intellectuals generally, and even among the peasantry. Revolutionaries, however, lagged behind this upsurge. Think about where the people are now and where, I don't know, the fucking PSL is, our supposed most, revolutionary, party of socialism, liberation, blah, blah. What are they doing? They're going up to Starbucks and complaining at them about Israel. Listen, Starbucks employee, your company is very evil, but it's not you, I know, but we're here to film a TikTok for the next hour. That's freaking where we are. And those are organizations with millions of dollars of resources, by the way. These aren't just schmucks with nothing. They have literal millionaires backing them up who are supposedly socialist revolutionaries, blah, blah, and they are not even at the level of where the masses are. The masses are burning down a fucking warehouse right now. And it's
right?
Maybe we could...
That's kind of what we're saying here is are they spontaneous? Are these planned? What is going on? Can you even take it seriously?
Revolutionaries, however, lagged behind this upsurge both in their theories and in their activity. They failed to establish a constant and continuous organization capable of leading the whole movement. In Chapter 1, we established that Rabuchai Dielo, the newspaper he doesn't like, belittled our theoretical tasks and that it spontaneously repeated the fashionable catchword, freedom of criticism. Those who, and that's him, he's talking about how it's basically nitpicky leftist infighting is what he's talking about in the first one, where it's we should all be allowed to criticize, and he's like, look, you're all criticizing to the point of no one's getting anything done because everybody just hates everybody about all this little freaking soap opera drama.
Yeah.
Respond.
Not familiar, everybody?
Yeah. To those who repeated this catchword lacked the consciousness to understand that the positions of the opportunist critics and those of the revolutionaries in Germany and Russia are diametrically opposed. He's saying that there's wreckers, there's people who are in there just to like make sure nothing ever gets done. In the following chapters, we shall see how this bowing to spontaneity found expression in the sphere of the political tasks and in the organizational work of social democracy. For free, you can go onto google.com, type in Lenin, you can just type in what is to be done, and it will come up. It'll take you to marxists.org if you want to go there directly. It's this Web 2.0 horrible website. It's not a horrible website. It works very well for what it is. It just looks like, it just looks like the...
Old school.
Yay! Look
You
at
guys
this.
want to know what the internet used to look like?
This is a website.
It's vintage internet.
Yes.
I love it. I think it's
it
great.
looks like a MySpace page.
It does. It does, and then it's like in the best way. And I like, it's just, if you like me, love it when Jared treats us to a reading. You can do it yourself at home.
Look. If you use their search box, it takes you to Google, and then it says Lenin's what is to be done, and then we're back to the Marxist.
Yeah, there you go. It can be done. It can be done by you. You can make content out of this. Did you know? Did you know that you can do that? Because you definitely can.
This thing is so funny.
Like, I would love to see like TikTok youths just sit and read this shit to each other. Like, come on, do it. Like, it's fun, right? Like, it's fun. It is. Trust.
There he is. Chapter 5, the plan for an all-Russia newspaper.
They're playing.
It's funny because you make fun of Lennox. You're like, oh, he thought the ultimate way to do it was just make the best newspaper. And that's like, oh, he led the first successful communist revolution in the world? Yes. All right. Maybe he was onto something.
Yeah, and also, again, like, you really can very easily apply this to modern standards by saying, okay, like what Jared just literally led us through by saying, like, no, what he's saying here is this is leftist infighting, and newspapers of the time were like social media, blah 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 blah. Like, that's literally what we're talking about. Like, you can this shit is timeless. Like, you literally can completely reapply this to modern times. And
he
it's like,
continually will mention how the people are at a higher level. Like, we're all thinking about all these freaking backwards, terrible, the masses, these dumbasses. Like, no, they're usually like, they don't have they don't necessarily have all the big fancy words, and they haven't read the books, but their consciousness is usually developed to a point of like, you got to go meet them. It is rare for the revolutionary organization to actually be more advanced than the people. We're all lagging behind. That's why we look at these protests. We're like, man, this would have made sense in like 2004.
Exactly that. That's what I keep saying. Like, when I hear people say, like, well, at least they're trying something. Yeah, they're trying something. It's not fucking working, because this should have been done 10 or 20 years ago. Yes. Like, this is shit that should have been done years ago. Like, and okay, like what, like about 20 years ago we had Occupy Wall Street or whatever, and that was the first nothing burger. It
was a big thing. Wouldn't it be great if there was some continuous prepared revolutionary organization that could take energy like that and people who are dedicated to that and help start putting them in places where they can be useful and advancing the overall project, as opposed to let's have a big libidinal release of like, we did a big protest. All right, let's go back to sleep. And in the meantime, everybody vote for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, and then we get to put all of our fun time pictures onto, Instagram. Like, that's not how it works, you guys. Like, you got to like take these things. But again, it's like, it's a kind of a two-edged problem, because you don't want to discourage people from doing anything, because I think when you're a millennial, that's really how you grew up. You felt really angry. You were mad about everything. You hated how everything was, but you really were completely powerless, and you knew it. And by playing into that powerlessness, which was true, which was a fact. We did not have power. We don't have it now. That that really just breeds apathy. And I think apathy is like the big, rainbow headline that you could put over the millennial generation, right? We're really pissed off, but we know there's nothing to be done. So now we're a couple more generations down from that, where, people now are finding ways to do things, even if it's like wrong and stupid and outdated. But the thing of it is that there is, there's more. There's more to all of this. Like, if you're on one hand getting your head around these things, even if they're not good things, at least people are finally thinking about it and trying to do something about it. But at the same time, not helpful to do a damn dildo race outside of an ice facility, you guys. So,
And unfortunately, I don't think like it doesn't matter how many of these warehouses you set on fire. You can definitely take it as a sign of that the peasants are unruly, and we are possibly nearing a revolutionary moment. But the only
Right.
way to make sure that the goal of the whole like the if you talk like what is Leninism, like what did Lenin contribute to Marxism, the basics, because Marxism isn't really about how to go do a revolution. It's more about like what is capitalism and how does it work. So Lenin was like, okay, so taking the logic of what is capitalism and how does it work, what would be the way to then, if you know how this thing works, to then put pressure on it in a way that might make it fall apart and then
Right.
create an opportunity for you, the people, to then come in and gain a frickin' foothold of power. And Lenin did that successfully. Mao
Right.
did that successfully by studying Lenin. And like we'll talk about Maoism. Mao, there isn't really Maoism. Mao was a Marxist-Leninist who just like
Marxist,
talked about
yeah.
how it applied to China.
Right.
Lenin is a Marxist who applied Marxism to Russia and then had a revolutionary strategy, which is develop a group of professional, dedicated revolutionaries who know their shit inside and out and can take and more effectively direct the will of the people that's already there. It's not going in and
Right.
being like, here's the thing you must think, become brainwashed to my specific program, unless you're talking about just like educating on how your frickin' system works. But that's not really
Right.
brainwashing. That's like elucidation. That's just going, look, I know you're told it works this way, and you all know it doesn't. Like everybody knows it doesn't work the way we're told. It's not you work really hard and then you succeed. Bootstraps is not how it actually works. We all know that, but there's not like a so how does it work?
Right. Yeah. That is the kind of the conundrum that we've been stuck in for a few generations. I'd say. I think from like probably like Gen X down to now. Like
We
we've
know
been
it's
like,
a
yeah, we
scam.
know the problems. We know the problems. We feel like shit about it. We can't do anything about it. We're completely fucking powerless. We're slaves to the system. We don't want to be, but we also know that there's no cohesion between people. There's identity politics is all anybody understands or knows. Education is
That's the
getting
substitute.
worse.
That's for like, why does this
Yeah.
not work? That's where every trans,
Right. Yeah.
black, Mexican, like they just have to throw
Whatever
group.
generation has
It's
a problem. Yeah.
Some group of your neighbors are the problem. It's not the system. It's one of your neighbors is doing something weird.
Yeah, and you also look at this and you say like, well, the whole Marxist-Leninism idea was like, well, obviously they didn't like get, Lenin didn't lead the revolution by appealing to the good graces of corporations and be like, will you help us, please, money daddies? Will you please help us and overturn and and rise class consciousness? Can you do that? No, it literally is emotion that goes person to person to person, and and it does take. And it's what we're bringing it around town here. That's what it does take. So, are these uprising seeming moments, if they're genuine, devil's advocate, if they're genuine, are these people taking it to the next level? And again, those companies will just write this off for insurance and they won't be harmed. But is it a step further than dildo race? Yeah, I'd be willing to say a couple. So if people are in doing something in some way, it does, as Jared said, show that the peasants are unruly. But if we want to look at like the French Revolution, a couple people lost their heads pretty famously because they the disparagement between classes was so great at that point. So there
and it's much
it is,
greater now.
and
It's the thing
when we
to think
talk,
about.
yeah, that's the thing too, and that was my next point. Like that gulf is so much wider now.
Marie
than,
Antoinette made like 1,000 times what an average French person made. Now we're in like the 100,000 times what an average
if not
citizen
even
makes.
more than that. Well, okay, like all you really need to know is that we're coming into our first era of trillionaires. That's all. That's it. And these fucking idiots are eating people and trying to go to space, and but not themselves. They want to send the peasants to space to do their bidding and die, so that they can go and skateboard in with their fucking stupid sunglasses and be like, "Yeah, I'm spaceman, whatever." So that's what we're really talking about here. That's where a whole we in some ways are in a history that repeats itself. But also, I'm not sure that even these really great minds like Marx and Lenin, Mao, could have really conceived how out of control things got. Because like, okay, let's just from here assume let's just assume the world and the culture has another like 100 or 1,000 years in it, right? Okay, you can't really think about it because of, then we just immediately just get in dome cities and flying cars, which we were already supposed to fucking have, right? So like your brain can't do it, their brains couldn't do it, our brains can't do it, but they at least had the right notions in place. We need to get better newspapers, we need better social contract, a better social contract, but we need better social connection in our social media. Like it needs to be used for powers of good instead of fucking advertising, which is all that it's used for now. So we are at a point where that's where we are. Like they tried to warn us. We can apply these notions pretty well. Those themselves are pretty timeless, but they couldn't have predicted how things would go. We can't really predict where things will go. We're just sort of in the same humanistic part of it. Like this is how humans react under pressure eventually when they do, so I don't think either one of us have illusions of being the next Marx or Lenin, because the leftist movement itself is hates itself and is so small comparatively. But interestingly, and I'm going to wrap this up, but interestingly, we are seeing MAGA and some of the biggest leaders of the right turning right all the way against Trump, whether it be for religious reasons, whether it be for economic reasons. It clearly wasn't for fucking child fucking reasons. That went right over. That didn't bother them. But we're at a crisis point. I think that it almost seems like there is a class consciousness taking place. It's just not united in under one particular banner of any kind. I think that's where we are.
Of if you campaign on a thing and then you do the opposite of it, you can't just pretend that didn't happen. And if anything, it's mostly like people end up giving more attention to the talking heads of like what I would call former MAGA now, because MAGA and Donald Trump are not necessarily the same thing, and now they have fully separated from one another.
Right.
So like if you take former MAGA talking head people, I see more of them turning against Trump than I ever. When did Rachel Maddow turn against Biden while he was bombing children in Gaza? Did that ever happen? Did I miss that clip? Like, it's not that I'm like, oh, Alex Jones is suddenly a great guy who I just love, and he's just right about everything. Because no, but if Alex Jones can look around and be like, this is not, Mr. President, what you voted, like, this isn't the thing that we were supposed to be. Why? Where is that from the quote left? Where are all the Democrats? Where are all the blue? Where's Blue MAGA? Where is Blue MAGA decrying, telling us to not vote for Kamala Harris because she promised she was working tirelessly to do an end to Gaza, but it turns out she was lying. Like, they never get to that point. So it's like, of two dumb options, man, it sure seems like Trump is actually getting some criticism, where the whole hold Biden accountable thing just never really panned out.
Never happened. No.
Never really tried with that.
Even the people that were trying to capitalize off of it, like your Jake Tappers, who was like wrote a book about, he was completely like numb in the head in the whole time, and they all knew it. Okay, so what's different than like any other president? You're going to sit there and pretend like they weren't just huge because
you just have to pretend that they're different. Your Epstein guys are better than their Epstein guys.
Yeah, does that make it easier for you to sleep at night? Like, come the fuck on, they're all eating kids. So right.
Joe Walsh is a Democrat now.
Isn't that, like, what the hell is that going on with all that shit? So yeah, everything is up in the air right now. Everything is on the table, as we've said, in accordance with these conspiracy theories going on, especially related to Epstein. The worst of the worst has happened. Okay, it's out there. Everybody knows about it. Nobody fucking cares apparently. And if we have crossed into eating people, there's nowhere else you can go from there. Okay, so everything is on the table. Everything. There's no more such thing as conspiracy theories. It's all true. Everything's real, and nobody knows what to do about it. And I think that also has everybody very, very angry and confused.
The about, lesser like, of two evils narrative is dead too, because it's like, no, it's the same of two same evils.
The same people.
Right? It's so the same. They're literally in pictures together hugging. Like, they are just the same. There's not.
Right. Yes. You can't say like, well, my guy's a
The
good
lesser.
guy and your guy's the bad guy when they both been arms around Jeffrey Epstein in a picture. Every guy is the bad guy, okay? And you just need to wipe the whole thing clean and start again with we the people.
You can
as a
free
real
your
thing.
brain of any of this whole freaking voter gult nonsense.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Ugh.
100%. And yeah, that kind of we will continue on if we aren't stopped. So we're at the top of the hour here, a little past. So we appreciate you being with us, and you can always catch up with us online, even though we are completely throttled by the algorithms. We are absolutely hidden. You can't find us just on your own. You really have to seek us out. We're at One Social Contract on Twitter, and I think the same on Blue Sky. You can watch all of our past episodes and see how right we are about everything all the time. Past episodes are on YouTube and Rumble. We broadcast live on Twitch. We're everywhere. You can find us. You just have to actually make an effort to look. But if you're already seeing this, then you know that. So thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you. We appreciate you being with us. Take care of yourselves and each other. If you try to throw a Molotov cocktail at Sam Altman's house, don't burn your fingies. So that's where we basically are at this point. Take care, everybody. Buy a bread maker, and we'll see you next week. So bye, everybody.